Welcome back to redrawing my boring childhood characters using the random aesthetics and traits generated from your suggestions. It's a convoluted journey, but we're really close to the end, sort of. We have maybe 4 or 5 videos left, obviously depending on how many characters I can get to per video, but we've kind of gotten to the point where there are so few characters and the randomness doesn't feel as random when I split the group into its 2 categories of D&D teenagers and fantasy celestials. So we're combining things again and doing both teenagers and celestials, which tends to make for a really wacky end of video compilation of characters, but it is what it is, so let's jump right into it. Our first character of the video, I rolled Alcor, one of the characters named after a celestial body, in techwear with glowing eyes. Also, the way I'm always shocked when I randomly roll and have to draw a man or masculine presenting character, as if I didn't create these characters in the first place. Like, can you believe the audacity of me deciding to redesign all of these characters and also including the male and mask presenting characters? How could I betray myself like this? Actually, I was pretty excited to work on this one because in sort of a weird twist of events, I really actually enjoyed drawing techwear, especially fantasy techwear. But as a quick refresher, with the characters that I named after celestial bodies, I'm redesigning them. Hi BG. I'm redesigning them to be fantasy knights instead of just a bunch of people that were clearly drawn in like 2013. And the idea of a techwear knight is, I mean, MiHoYo has kind of been there, done that with their Honkai Star Rail, so there's a lot of inspiration out there for how these kinds of characters can look. There are a couple of features that are absolutely necessary in order to get the techwear vibes in there for sure. So number 1 is that there needs to be an athletic wear feel to it. A lot of techwear kind of seems to go hand in hand with athletic clothing, or at least those kinds of materials. The second thing is a big chunky shoe. As a person who stands at a whopping 5 feet tall, platform shoes are my beloved, but I think everyone looks good in a chunky shoe or boot of some sort. And I really wanted like a dark colored shoe with neon green or a highlighter yellow base. And the last thing to make sure that something is the most techwear of all techwears of all time is to add an excessive and unnecessary number of straps and O-rings and buckles. I love a lot of belts for no reason in character designs, and you know, today we're gonna spoil ourselves with a little bit of impracticality. Speaking of impracticality, this specific anime looking haircut that I'm not sure behooves any warrior ever, but hey, it looks really cool in cutscenes, so of course we have to include it. And I know it's a white-haired character with dark sunglasses. Welcome back, Gojo. Genuinely, the intention was not to make a Gojo 2 Electric Boogaloo. In my memory of who Alcor was, he was always more of a quiet character, and I envisioned him as not really one for many words or a lot of conversation, and I figure he wears the sunglasses to sort of lessen the attention on his glowing neon light eyeballs, which I think really ties into the characteristics of the star that he was named after as well. Alcor is one of the stars in the Big Dipper, appearing to be the second star in the ladle's handle, and the name Alcor comes from the Arabic word that I think is pronounced Al-Khawari, which means faint one. Alcor is called faint one because Alcor is actually part of a binary star system, so when you're looking up at the Big Dipper, it looks like there's only one star there, but it's actually 2 stars that are very, very close together. Alcor has a companion star named Mizar, which is the brighter of the 2 stars. So in my childhood lore, Mizar is the more bold and outgoing twin sister of Alcor. Not that Alcor is like in her shadow, but more in the sense of what's a bright light without a shadow. Most of the stars in the Big Dipper are part of a moving group, which are stars that are traveling in the same general direction through space, but Alcor and Mizar specifically are gravitationally bound to each other. In fact, in more recent years, scientists suspect that Alcor and Mizar are even closer to each other than we originally thought. The average distance between stars is around 5 light years, and Alcor and Mizar could be as little as 1.5 or even 0.5 light years away from each other. Having set a foundation for what Alcor looks like and knowing he has a twin sister, it's making me really look forward to her character design as well, and there isn't really another category similar to techwear on the wheel, so I'm interested to see how they match up in terms of aesthetics. And speaking of contrasting aesthetics, Alcor and Alcade are the 2 final stars in the handle of the Big Dipper, and I think in that way Alcor and Alcade are quite close to each other in the lore of my celestials, so I envision Alcor being a little bit interested in Alcade but not having the words to express his interest, and Alcade doesn't actually realize that he likes her because she's missing all the signals. Which brings us to the end of drawing number 1. Alcor. I really love how this turned out. I love the little metal details. I feel like I understood the assignment. I do also unfortunately think I started out this video with a really strong character, probably my favorite character in this video, and I'm nervous that maybe the next two characters won't be as interesting lore or design wise, but I do still really liked how they turned out. So let's begin character number 2. So for character number 2, we rolled Lexi, one of the teenagers, with the aesthetic traditional goth. And wait, I don't have a character named Lexi. So I genuinely have no idea what happened here, but in cross-referencing my wheel of names and the characters I have on the sheet, I think Lexi was supposed to be Penny? Not exactly sure how that happened, but anyways, I'm so excited to be drawing someone in the traditional goth style. It's such a striking and beautiful look. I am kind of bummed that it's not a trad goth fantasy celestial, because I think trad goth fantasy armor would look really stinking cool, but there are way more aesthetics and characters on the list, so honestly I should just be happy that I was able to roll traditional goth as an option at all. In looking up the traditional goth aesthetic, there is of course the trademark monochromatic black and white makeup with gorgeous heavy eye makeup and a dark lip. The talent and practice it must take to get your makeup looking so symmetrical. I'm very envious. My makeup skills pretty much extend to painting myself bright blue for cosplay purposes, and that's about it. Even in drawing, I had such a hard time getting things to look even. I will fully admit that I just copied and pasted the eyes because I gave up. I thought that drawing each one individually instead of breaking out the symmetry tool would give the drawing a sense of realism, but in the end, all it did was give me a headache. In terms of clothing, there seems to be a lot of diversity from a lot of different eras. Some people seem to go for a more punk look with graphic tees and fishnets and lace tops. Some people seem to lean more into the Victorian era with frilly collared shirts and heeled boots and bustle skirts. And my personal favorite is that some people go for the Morticia Adams silhouette with long dresses and batwing sleeves. And that hardly covers the range that gothic clothing can be. The common factor is that most of the clothing is black and there is a lot of layering and accessorizing. I made Penny have a combination of a little bit of everything. So a big punk chunky demonia style boot and a fishnet glove from the more punk side of things, a bustled skirt and corset for the Victorian goths, and a big batwing bolero because I live for impractical sleeves. And of course, lots and lots of silver jewelry and chains. And I think one detail that I need everyone to appreciate and have a little chuckle at is that I included the struggle that every person who wears a lot of black clothing knows, myself included. I made each piece of her outfit a slightly different shade of black because they never match. They simply never match. You know, now looking at her, I don't think she goes by the name Penny anymore. She's definitely going by her full name, Penelope, now. I think maybe when she was younger, she felt like she stuck out because it's kind of a different name, but now she's much less afraid to lean into her unique features. Also, I said in a previous video that I had a headcanon that the group of teenagers all meet at a diner and play D&D together, and that I had to decide which one of them was going to be the DM, and Penelope is giving some pretty strong game master energy. I mean, look at her and her giant bag full of secrets. Tell me that she hasn't had the whole group come together to play Curse of Strahd. Okay, I won't officially decide until I draw all of them, but she's looking like a very strong contender, and she's looking like she's gonna be one of my favorite characters of the teenagers group. Don't tell the others. I really love the transition from Penny to Penelope, and I really need to thrift or sew more cool black statement pieces of clothing. But for the last time in this video, we are spinning the wheel of your suggestions for character number 3, where we got Danielle with the ethereal aesthetic, which is very interesting, somehow both very adjacent and very opposite to Penelope. Ethereal is a very beautiful aesthetic and a little unique in the way that it focuses more on an energy or vibe that it's giving out and less on a specific fashion style or makeup style. There is a lot of overlap with princessy and cottagecore vibes. It's just overall a very whimsical look. Now, we've done cottagecore for one of the celestials and we have coquette for one of the teenagers, so in order to make sure Danielle looks distinct from Alcade and Kate, who both very much like Danielle also have their hair in the range of strawberry blonde to reddish orange, I decided to focus on texture and thriftability specifically. So I dressed Danielle in 3 distinct articles of clothing. The first layer is a long ruffled green skirt that she's pulled up to wear as a dress, because what's more ethereal than being kind to the earth and repurposing your fashion as much as possible. The second article of clothing is a sheer pastel yellow baby doll top. Seeing Using sheer or lace baby doll dresses as a layer on top of clothing is a trend that I've seen sort of make an appearance in recent years in an effort to make even your most delicate of clothing articles more wearable day to day. Plus, I think delicate and flowy and sheer are all very ethereal sounding words, which brings us to the third article of clothing, another sheer piece, sort of a chiffon robe situation. I've seen a lot of dressing gown, robe, cover-up tie front dresses styled in such a way to add a flowy, whimsical aspect to outfits, and I'm all about it. Personally, I think my own wardrobe is lacking cool robes. I think I should get more. Anywhere on the spectrum from isolated tower wizard robe to frolicking spring fairy robe, I'm gonna try to invest more time into that. And of course, very, very important, accessorizing. We have ribbons, we have vintage jewelry in pale yellow or white gold, we have these very pretty glasses that are giving fantasy librarian fairy, and since Kate and Alcade both have long hair, we'll give Danielle pretty short hair that she's curled to enhance the ethereal vibes. To be honest, the reason I have so many characters featuring the fair skin and ginger hair and green eyes is because as a child I just thought it was such a beautiful look, and I knew that red hair simply was not in my genetics, but I was, and low-key still am, unbelievably bummed out that I didn't inherit my father's eyes. Brown hair and brown eyes have consistently proven to be the dominant genetic trait in my family. Unfortunately, while my self-esteem chemicals are not at peak performance at the moment, thankfully I do spend a lot less time being sad about my overall color palette, and also thanks to the magic of wigs and cosplays, I have gotten to enjoy having loads of different hair colors and eye colors. Danielle, I think, probably has an absolute gift for thrifting. Nobody will come back from the thrift store with a better haul than her, but in an odd twist of events, she and the sewing machine do not get along. If she ever needs something to be altered in some way, she has to hand it off to one of her more crafty friends. Also, I think everyone expected Danielle to come to the D&D table having built a beautiful, elegant elven or ASMR druid or cleric to play, but she shocked everyone by bringing the scrappiest, scrungliest of lizard folk rune night fighters. And there we have Danielle, our ethereal aesthetic teen. I think she's so lovely. I'm actually so obsessed with her glasses. I think they're very fun. I'm really glad that decorative glasses chains are actually making a comeback because I think they're neat. I can't help that most of the redhead girlies in this collection have ended up with a pastel vibe, but you know what? We're just gonna roll with it. And here are all three of our characters of the day, Penelope, Alcor, and Danielle. Just your average D&D party, you know? You got the edgy goth one, you got the one that's weirdly built like an anime character, and you got the celestial ethereal fairy princess, you know? As you do. But since we've come to the end of the video, it's time to update both collections. So first off, let's get the D&D teens out of the way. I love this group, but I'm getting nervous because I know dang well that there are two more guys that I haven't rolled to draw yet, and I don't want to have to draw them all in the same video. I'm begging, please, not all rolled for the same video. And if you think this group is very colorful and diverse, behold the Celestials. It's glorious. There's so much going on at once and I love it. Honestly, as a group, these are some of my favorite character designs that I think I've ever made. There are only 3 or 4, I think, Celestials left. Alcor and Mirek are the only men in this group, so from here on out, it's only Celestial women. Oh no, what a tragedy. I have to draw a bunch of pretty women. Whatever will I do? Who knows? Not me.